tells you what kind of shape it was in. Who's driving the Exploder today?
How do those get surplused? Do they just go
Auction.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of people like those old Crown Vics. They got the old Interceptor police motors in there, and a lot of people want to pick them up just for the Interceptor in there. So.
Yeah, but everyone knows police vehicles have all those idling hours on them.
Oh yeah. And you almost on every police car, you need to plan on replacing the seats because they're all broke down, right? From all their gear on them, and it's hard on seats, right?
You lose a lot of donuts underneath them too, and you got to find them and
A lot of sprinkles underneath the
brush
seat.
them off.
I'm not going to go there with that comment.
30 seconds in the microwave, they're good as new.
Yeah, you're good.
Eric, I don't see Ryan yet, but I'm watching.
I talked to him earlier, so he's
Okay.
on board, so he should be here anytime.
I have some names that I don't recognize. I'm not sure if he's under a different name. When the time comes, maybe he can raise his hand if it's him.
All right, well, it's 6 o'clock, so let's get started. This is Tuesday, September 14th, 2021, and it is 6 p.m. This is going to be a regular city council meeting of the Lake Stevens City Council, and it is going to be done via Zoom online with all the participants online as well as attendees in the attendees group. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order, and I would ask all to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. The pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everybody. City Clerk Chellen, can I get a roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Daughtry.
Present.
Councilmember Peter Shagan.
Present.
Councilmember Frederick.
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson. Here. Councilmember Jorstad. Here. Councilmember Ewing.
Present.
Councilmember Tadgett.
Present.
All right, perfect. And with that, Council President Daughtry, can I get into approval of the agenda?
All right, council, is there any changes requested for the agenda that has been put forth in the packet?
I'll move to approve the agenda as submitted.
It's been moved to and seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion on the motion?
Council President, I just wanted to mention that we have an executive session at the end of the meeting for potential litigation.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Mr. Mayor, you have an agenda.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We're going to move into citizens' comments then. And with how we do citizens' comments online is we ask for anybody who wishes to provide citizens' comments to the City Council this evening. And we ask that you raise your hand or make some sort of sign that will allow us to know that you want to provide comments. We'll call upon you and we'll bring you into the panelist area where we'll ask you to state your name and your address, and we'll give you 3 minutes to address the council. So with that, I'm already seeing Jackie Longley. Let's bring Jackie Longley in. I'll go ahead and run a timer. When you hear the timer, you have 10 seconds left within your 3 minutes. So Jackie, go ahead. You have the floor. Go ahead and unmute.
Okay. Am I unmuted now?
We've got you, Jackie. Go ahead.
Wonderful. I don't know why you can't. Can you see me video wise?
Cannot.
Give me just a moment here.
Okay.
Start video. There we go.
We got you.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Okay. Can my 3 minutes start now?
Right now.
Okay. So my name is Jackie Longley. I live at 2116 131st Avenue Northeast in Lake Stevens. I've lived in Lake Stevens for a decade. And the reason I'm speaking tonight is because I believe that there are oversight failures going on at City Hall. These failures going on at minimum put the city at risk for lawsuits and at maximum jeopardize the health of our citizens. I'm sure you are all aware of the mishap involving the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife and the illegal work that went on that stream bank along Lakeshore Drive, where the state had to step in to stop crews who had already poured concrete footings without a permit. And the city's second permit application submitted August 10th was also rejected. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because it seems City Hall is interpreting the rules, whether it applies to them or permit applicants. I was first made aware of an infill developer proposing 3 triplexes, that's 9 dwelling units, on a parcel of land in our neighborhood in November of 2020. And what currently sits there is a piece of history, which is a house that was built in 1920, 101 years ago, when the rail mill occupied North Cove Park. Regardless of the loss of cultural heritage, after reading Lake Stevens Municipal Code about infill development, I trusted that so long as the developers followed code, this might actually be a good thing. I mean, who doesn't want more affordable housing in a quiet neighborhood that sits next to the Centennial Trail and is a block from an elementary school? That perception quickly changed as January came and we saw documents being submitted to City Hall with glaring errors. I freaked out at first, not realizing that City Hall is supposed to go through, make sure that the developer corrects those errors as they resubmit them. That's why there's this process to stop things from, basically stop it from happening, those errors from occurring in the first place. So I know that, okay, the documents that are being submitted, that's not how the project is necessarily going to go. So what we did was we requested a meeting with the developer to bring up our concerns. That meeting was held February 4th and was hijacked by the site planner, who used it as a platform to showcase the developer's vision while mitigating our objections via the time limitation. At the end, I was informed this was the only meeting Lake Stevens Municipal Code required of the developer, and to submit in writing any concerns that were not addressed. So needless to say, the neighbors were quite upset, and we circulated a petition and submitted that to City Hall. We also left our burden at the steps of City Hall, as it is their function to review permit applications to ensure compliance. Monday, August 30th, I was notified via email the City of Lake Stevens had issued a decision of approval for the Centennial Short Plat. The full list of exhibits can be found under the permit number LUA 2020-0173 on our Citizens Connect portal. That was all in that email. Furthermore, interested parties may appeal the decision by submitting a written appeal form and required fees to the city clerk within 14 days of that decision. And guess what today is? Day 15, where I can finally speak publicly about the injustice of having to pay upwards of $2,000 to file an appeal based on errors that the city should have caught. Because all of those documents are public online. You can look at them and see exactly where they don't meet city code. And yet, as a citizen, I would be forced to pay close to $2,000. We don't have that kind of money. And it shouldn't fall onto us to correct those errors.
Ms.
So
Longley,
I brought that.
I'm going to need you to Ms. Longley, I'm going to need you to wrap it up. Just take a couple more seconds for me, okay?
I brought that to the attention of the city. I also asked for those errors to be fixed. And the response I got was based on our interpretation. You can't interpret the Lake Stevens Municipal Code when it is stated as fact. When I get the gray areas where it's like infill development must meet the character, that's gray area. But when it has specifics that they are breaking, those are errors, and that's not interpretive.
All right, Ms. Longley, if you have that written, you can always submit that for the council members to take a look at. So
I mean, does anybody care?
Right.
I mean, 14 days to file an appeal based on their errors. And now I finally get a chance to speak. This is why I was at last week's meeting trying to raise my hand, say, hey, I don't have the time to file an appeal by the time I'm able to tell you.
Right. So Ms. Longley, we don't answer questions in this forum. It's just a time for you to provide comments, okay?
Right, okay. I guess it'll be like part 2 next week, and I'll just keep coming back again and again and again until I've gone through the entire list of errors.
Okay.
I need to put you back to the attendee list. Mayor, do you want to take the next person?
Yeah, let's bring Sue in, please.
There we go.
Sue Fernald,
Hi, can you hear me?
we've got you. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Sue Fernall, and I live here in Lake Stevens. Mine is just a little more housekeeping, I hope. I'd like to make a suggestion on your retreat you held on September 27th. In the minutes on page 16 of 97, there was a comment or written, a community service was published, blah, blah, blah. And I think this was in regards to the library. And then it said 70% supported it. I think it was 11% didn't and something. I'd like to make a suggestion for people like me that like to go back through the minutes and make my notes that you state, was it 20,000 people the survey? Was it 100 people? Because 70% of 100 would be 7 people. 70% of 40,000, the whole city, would be a different number. So it would be handy for me and others if you stated how the survey was conducted and how many surveys you actually counted. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Okay, with that, is there any other folks who would like to provide citizens' comment tonight? Please raise your hand. I've got Gabe Schmuck. Gabe, let's bring Gabe in. And Gabe, I think you might have came on late. We provide 3 minutes for you to address the council, and we ask that you provide your name and address, and you'll have to unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we've got you, Gabe. Go ahead.
All right. Hi, my name's Gabe Schmuck. I live at 2430 Cedar Road here in Lake Stevens. I've been a resident here since about 1992, and I'd like to speak a little bit about the recent decision to demolish the Kids Oasis Park at Pilchuck Elementary, what seems to have led to the decision, as well as put a bug in the ear of this council about plans for the space moving forward. As I've said, I've lived here for nearly 30 years. Friends and high school classmates of mine went to Pilchuck before, during the construction of the park, and had many years of use with it. My 5 younger siblings and I did as well. Countless kids over the past 29 years that the park was around had their fun with it. And while I understand that it was aging, what seems to have kept it from retaining its youth and lasting another 10 years was not the weather, the use, or the time. It was more than a decade-long bickering match between the city and the school district about who was to take responsibility for the park. While it did reside on school property, the school lies within city limits. And it seems to me that if they were defaulting on their end, the city should have been the one to either step up and take charge, or at least take the lead on negotiating with the school district instead of passing it off. Although that does not absolve the school board from its responsibility, as it is their job to work on what issues arise within its confines. If the issue was a safety or liability scenario, which to me is a little bit unlikely, as there was very little in the way of loose boards or exposed hardware or anything that would have caused injury, it could have easily been worked around by putting up some sort of signage, much like there is at London Park, warning others to swim at their own risk because of no lifeguards. Essentially, play at your own risk. I'm unaware if there was any official documentation about who was responsible for the upkeep when it was originally built, or if there was an agreement made in the years after, but it shouldn't take 10 or more years to come up with some sort of plan. There are similar parks in the surrounding areas that have been refurbished, restructured, and are set to last just as long as ours did, if not longer. The most frustrating part about the whole thing, though, was the lack of communication with the people of the city. One public notice from the school district with no public comment, zero outreach to try and determine any better outcomes or find funding, and a rush to tear it down 4 days later. This town deserves better. This is nothing short of a dereliction of duty on both the part of the city and the school district board. And I hope voters remember this when it comes time to decide who they want representing their city and school board. If the park isn't safe, what's next? Obviously, it's too late to save the park now, but there will be many eyes watching to see what the plan is for that giant hole left in the community. And I look forward to hearing what the plans are from this council and the school board in the coming weeks and months, because it should be a priority to both fill the space with something befitting what was once there and to have a better line of communication with the people of the city on what is happening to the iconic structures that longtime residents of this city associate with their town and for which newcomers have come here. Growing city can and should keep its historic pieces without modernizing and changing its face. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. Appreciate your comments. With that, is there anybody else who would like to provide citizens' comments tonight? Please raise your hand. Ms. Longley, we've already heard from you. Is there any other folks who would like to provide citizens' comments tonight? City Clerk, do you see anybody else that I'm not seeing?
I do not, Mayor.
Okay, so with that, let's move forward and move to council business. Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's start with Steve Ewing tonight.
All right. Just want to note that we had some great interviews for boards and commissions, for the library board and the salary commission. Grateful for the community members and their willingness to participate in our process. Had a great meeting with the youth council this past week, and grateful for their efforts. They've already performed numerous service projects and rendered hundreds of hours of service to our community. So they're doing outstanding work. And the health district meeting today was excellent, and they're moving in a nice direction. And the city, the Department of Corrections continues to work on their siting plan for a work release facility in Snohomish County, and they're making progress to that end.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Frederick.
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Tagent. You're muted.
Well, you think you'd catch on after a while. Heard we had a great event on Saturday downtown. And then this upcoming Saturday, there's the Veterans Commission Coffee Clutch. It's at the Buzz Inn, I believe from 8 to about 10. See how many people we get to show up today. So that's what I have to report. Make sure if you want to come and talk veteran stuff, make sure you make the coffee clutch.
Thank you, Councilmember Tagent. Councilmember Jorstad.
Thank you, Councilman Daughtry. I had an opportunity last week to spend some time down at the Volunteer of America Community Center here in Lake Stevens. If you haven't had a chance to drop by and visit, speak with Tina Mandela, I I would really encourage it. Her passion for her work it's pretty contagious. And it's really pretty amazing to hear what the Volunteers of America site is able to do with pretty scant resource. Just some of the stories that she was able to share with me were sort of heartbreaking and heartwarming all at the same time. The amount of assistance that some families need just to kind of get over the hump and keep going is, they're pretty moderate requests, but they make a huge difference in these folks' lives. There was a family who needed one tire for their car, and they had sort of run out of opportunities to get that resource. They'd gotten, kind of scrambled together $75, but needed another $100 to get that tire replaced. And because the VOA was able to step in and help them, they didn't lose time at their job. They were able to maintain employment and, able to get back on their feet. There was another story of a woman who her childcare expense was $650 a month, and she was able to pay $620 a month and couldn't come up with that extra $30. And the VOA helped for 3 months, and she was able to, again, maintain, her job and keep her child in safe and affordable healthcare. So it was great to see their space and just be in that space for an hour and a half and listen to the requests that are coming in. I'd really like for us to consider, because along with these stories were also stories where they're not able to help. They can't help everyone that calls. They have over 400 calls a month from families needing assistance. And a lot of what Tina does is connect them to other resources in the county, kind of help problem solve situations. But I'd really love to kind of talk through, I think some extra funding from our city could make a world of difference for a lot of our families in our community. So I'd like to kind of just throw that out there and maybe put that on an upcoming agenda, especially when we're talking about 2022 budgeting. So anyway, it was very uplifting. I'd encourage anyone to reach out to Tina. She sends us monthly reports. She's happy to have visitors. So if you get a chance, go stop by. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jorstad. Councilmember Peter Sagan.
Thank you. Nothing to report tonight, but wondering if we could have maybe just a commentary from Commander Brooks or a representative from the police department. We've had a number, I think all of us have received the emails about concerned parents about the traffic situation at our schools of dropping kids off and on. And I'm just wondering if there's anything that we can do to alleviate some of those issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Peter Sagan. Councilmember Dickinson.
Thank you for your comment about Volunteers of America, Angie. I will take that as homework to go down and check it out because they are amazing. I just wanted to say, yesterday I was at the senior center, of course, for their board meeting. And of course, it was very dramatic because of the fact that they had to close down. But there is still good news. They've been very careful about what they're going to allow to happen. Indoor meals are not going to happen for some time, and they are working on doing their free meals at pickup outside. And the Stillaguamish tribe gave our Lake Stevens Senior Center $5,000, just wrote a check and gave it to them to help them with those free lunches. And I just thought that was fabulous. Once the Moderna booster shot is ready, the senior center will have be a drive-by vaccination site. We're waiting for that Moderna booster shot to come through. And I think that's fabulous that will happen right here in Lake Stevens. And I'm just so grateful that they're willing to do that. So it is traumatic for the senior center right now because of what happened. So they're doing the right thing though. They're taking care of business and doing it right. They're not going to fall into a trap again. But I'll be really thrilled when they can start having that drive-by vaccination site. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dickinson. And I have nothing to report tonight. So Mr. Mayor, back to you.
All right, good stuff. Good reports. And I agree, Tina does great work at the VOA. It's fun to watch her. If you need a little bit of energy, go talk to her. She's got it. So I would like to start off tonight with my business portion by doing a proclamation for Lake Stevens citizen who passed away. And I'll go ahead and just read it. Whereas Bernadette Quinn has lived in and served our community, and whereas Bernadette Quinn served her country as a member of the United States Army during Vietnam from 1957 to 1960, and whereas American Legion Post number 181 requested the American flag be lowered to half staff to honor those individuals who have served their country on behalf of freedom for others. And whereas it is important to honor the patriotic service and dedicated efforts of those who have served their community and country, now therefore I, Brett Gailey, Mayor of the City of Lake Stevens, hereby proclaim that on the 18th day of September in the year 2021, the flags of the Lake Stevens War Memorial shall be lowered to half staff in order to honor the life and contributions of Bernadette Quinn. The community should know of those who give so much for liberty. So I'll be signing that. And I met Bernadette a few years ago at an American Legion meeting. She was great. She was not only a veteran, but she did a lot of service work and contributions to the library and the Lake Stevens Museum, as well as the food bank. So sorely missed. She was a great personality.
Mayor, I just wanted to let you know that Vern Rasmussen from the American Legion is with us tonight on the meeting. I just brought him in if you wanted to say something, but
Absolutely, Vern. Go ahead, take a minute. You'll have to unmute. Vern, if you're going to need to unmute. There you go, Vern. Vern, we got you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate your putting together the proclamation, and we're scheduled to have the memorial on Saturday, pending a down rain of big storm, possibly. But on the paragraph 2, it has his country instead of her country. Bernadette is female, and
yep.
So if we get that fixed before you sign it, Mayor, I appreciate that, and we're looking forward to hand that out. You and the other council members are certainly invited to come to the service if you'd like. Thank you.
You bet, Vern. Appreciate it. Thank you. And we did catch that error and we fixed it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vern.
Yeah. Just a little bit more business for me. There's obviously so much going on in the city right now. I do want to let the council know I took the opportunity to attend the American Public Works Association conference along with Director Durpos, and it was a very enlightening, very eye-opening experience for me as someone who's not well versed in public works. And what you're going to see as a benefit of coming back from that conference is a budget that's going to be very much oriented on getting some things fixed within the city that are within our public works arena, and getting some great systems and procedures put together in that area. And I'm excited to move forward in getting our city better and better every day. So the great benefit from attending that conference. With that, I'm going to move. We've got city department reports. I think the only one we have is Director Durpos. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. My report tonight is to introduce 2 new employees to the Public Works Department tonight. The first one is Ryan Wheatholder, and maybe, I don't know if Kelly can bring him in. I see him on the screen earlier.
Yes, he's with us here.
Okay, great.
And his family, it looks like.
Yeah, let me switch pages so I can maybe see him. There he is. Okay. Ryan comes to us with 12 years engineering experience. He was born in Ohio and then moved to the Lake Stevens area in 2010, where he lived for 2 years and then moved away for additional work. Ryan came back this area last year in 2020. And he really loved the Lake Stevens area and is looking forward to moving back this way. Him and his wife currently live in Renton, and they are looking for a home in Lake Stevens. Ryan is married and has a lovely wife, Diana, and a 2-year-old son that you can see in the background. That's Holder. And he brings a wealth of knowledge and experience. We're really excited to have him on the team. He's already hit the ground running and been working with the PD on those school traffic issues already. So that's good to have him helping out there. Interesting thing about Ryan and his wife is they're chicken farmers, and they raise silkies and Polish chickens. So fun fact to know about Ryan and his wife. So I'd like to welcome Ryan to the Lake Stevens team and introduce him tonight. So
yeah, thank you all for the opportunity. I really appreciate it, and thank you to the people at Lake Stevens as well.
Nice to meet everyone. I've never been so blatantly called a chicken farmer, but I guess that's what we are. So we'll take it. Have a great night.
Welcome. That's what you get with Eric.
I mean, it's the truth, so I guess that's what we are. I'm sorry, I got to give this guy candy. He spotted the candy machine in the corner, and then all the
it's kind of cool because everybody knows that I farmed ostriches. So I was
You farmed ostriches? How do you even do that?
A big chicken farmer I was for several years. So.
You'll have
We'll
to
talk
teach
to you
us.
about that later.
Yeah, you'll have to teach us some stuff. I'm sure you got some tips.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks.
And the next employee I have is Eric Hentela. He's on the call as well. Eric, maybe you can raise your hand. We have 3 Erics now down in the Public Works Department, so that's a little bit of a challenge, but I'm E, our engineer Mangold is K, and then we have H here. So that's how you can tell the difference between the 3 Erics down in Public Works. But Eric was born and raised in Washington. He grew up with his dad around construction equipment. It's where he started his career doing utility work. His dad actually worked for the city of Seattle and told Eric that it would be great one day to get a job at a city where you had a stable job and good benefits and retirement potential. So Eric, before coming here, he's been with the city of Arlington for 24 years, where he worked his way up from maintenance worker to supervisor of operations and maintenance. He's got a ton of experience, and he's already doing good things for the department. Ryan has a wife of 29 years named Stacy, and he's got 2 kids, Austin, his boy, who's 28, and Abby, his daughter, who's 24. Eric loves to camp in the outdoors and do things outside spend time with his family outdoors. And fun thing to know about Eric is he's a lover of classic cars and loves hot rods. So welcome, Eric, and it's great to have you here.
Thank you for the warm introduction, and I look forward to a continuing career with Lake Stevens.
Thank you, Eric. Good to have you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Anything
Okay,
else,
that's
Eric?
it for me, Mayor.
Okay, great. Appreciate the report. And I was able to spend some time with Eric Hentela the other day, and I think we picked a good one from Arlington. So expecting good things moving forward there. Let's move to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to pass the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And any opposed? All right, consent agenda passes. With that, we'll move on to a public hearing. And the public hearing tonight is going to be on impact fee code amendments. And David, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if Kelly will allow me.
Yes. Okay, you're good.
All right, so we are here tonight for a public hearing for a land use code amendment to sections 14.100 and 14.112 of the Lake Stevens Municipal Code. It's land use application LUA 2021-0133, known as impact fee amendments, specifically to our school and traffic impact mitigation sections of the code. So it's a pretty much a housekeeping code amendment to reflect recent annexations. Basically, since about 2018, we haven't touched this section of the code, but we've had a number of annexations in recent years, including the most recent Southeast interlocal annexation. Just a little bit of a background on impact fees. They're one-time charges that cities can collect to fund public facility or capital improvements. They're required to fund system improvements as opposed to existing deficiencies. And then they specifically within the Lake Stevens Municipal Code, we regulate impact fees for school impact mitigation, traffic impact mitigation, and park impact mitigation. At this time, we are only proposing amendments to the school and traffic impact mitigation language. We want to do some additional analysis on section 14.120 before we propose any amendments to the methodology or any other components of that section. So in your packet tonight, you'll see ordinance 1123, as well as a couple of exhibits that are attached to that. Exhibit A is the proposed amendments to the two sections of the municipal code. Basically, as I mentioned, they're needed to reflect recent annexations, and they're pretty limited in scope. Basically, there's a couple of text amendments that include a new definition for district. Basically, with the recent annexations, we've added the Snohomish School District now serves portions of the city. So we needed to remove references that were exclusively related to the Lake Stevens School District. And now it just refers to a more general district and provides a definition. It extended the deadline to utilize school impact fees from 6 to 10 years to be, which is the maximum allowed by state law. And then the kind of the most notable amendment is to figure 14.112-I, which is our traffic impact zone map, which I'll show you on the next slide, basically to reflect recent annexations and also to automatically assign a traffic impact zone to areas of our UGA upon annexation. So if you look at this map, basically kind of established extended area 3, traffic impact zone 3 to the east to kind of, and then extended it north up to it's approximately 7th place southeast, and then brought down traffic impact zone 1 further to the south. So, and then you'll see the red hatch marks are the areas that are currently within the UGA. They've had TIZs assigned to them that would be effective upon annexation. So just a little bit about the findings. If, as noted in the staff reports, the proposed amendment meets all the approval criteria, provided all of the required SEPA documentation and public noticing requirements. The Planning Commission held a work session back on June 16th and then held their required public hearing on August 18th and unanimously recommended approval of the proposed amendments. And now the City Council is asked to adopt Ordinance 1123 this evening. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So with that, do we have any questions for Dave? Go ahead, Mary.
Thank you. How will the impact fee code amendments help with sidewalks? It looks like they would help with sidewalks. Desperate need for sidewalks around our schools and actually all over Lake Stevens, as we well know. And apparently it's legal for us to look at the SEPA in a way that fits better with our city. And I'm wondering if we're impacting the environment in doing that. This is something I really do not understand hoping you can help me, David. Sorry.
As far as, so we're not changing any of the actual calculated impact fees. It's generally just the language that applies to some of the definitions and clears up that the recently annexed areas are now included and subject to the impact fees. Part of the reason that we needed to get this done as well is that previously, for say in the Redora area, we did not update the traffic impact zone map, but we had, for smaller projects, had substantive authority under SEPA to basically require impact fees to be paid. But if a smaller project were to come in now in this area underneath the exemption threshold, which now is 30 units on the single family residential side of things, we wouldn't have that SEPA substantive authority anymore. And so that was an important reason why we needed to get this done sooner rather than later, now that this annexation area is been incorporated into the city. As far as sidewalks, so that would be something that, you know, with the traffic impact zones, you know, when traffic impact fees are paid, the improvements go within those designated areas. Basically, when we draw up the map, we draw it in a way where we think that the required traffic improvements and capital improvements are needed to be directly associated and related to the proposed development within that area, so that the impacts of the development are funding improvements within that designated traffic impact zone. So that's, you know, a potential way that it could be beneficial. Generally, sidewalks specifically related to developments are included as required frontage improvements directly associated with that development. If it were off-site improvements, that would be something that would need to be evaluated as part of the traffic impact analysis, and that would need to be consistent with the traffic impact zones.
Thank you. Appreciate you clarifying that.
Councilmember Frederick.
Thank you, Mayor. David, I think my question is pretty straightforward. I'm curious about the need, kind of the background conversation, necessitating the need to go from 6 years to 10 years. I'm assuming that it very simply just allows more time for capital projects to be put in place, utilizing those funds before they're returned. Is it as straightforward as that?
It was, yeah. We basically wanted to be consistent with state law. We looked around at a number of different jurisdictions. We had gotten a question, I think specifically from Commissioner Welch, that asked about that, why we weren't fully utilizing the 10 years that's allowed by state law. And so we looked at some nearby jurisdictions, and the majority of them had it at 10 years. So we decided to make that change.
Okay, thank you.
David, has that law been changed recently with the state? Or is that old?
I would have to look back through to see how long it's been at 10 years. I'm not quite sure on the school side of things.
Okay, don't bother. It was just a question to see if you knew. I don't need the answer.
Councilmember Peterson. Gary.
Thank you. I'm just laughing at Councilmember Daughtry's comment.
I'm just there for your enjoyment.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the amusement. So, David, could you just clarify a couple of things? The city of Lake Stevens does not collect the school mitigation fee per se. We collect it on behalf of the school district. I'm assuming you're nodding your head. That means yes.
Correct. That's correct. Yeah, basically, and there's a requirement within the code language that they need to have a capital facilities plan that's been adopted by the city, which we do as part of our annual comprehensive plan docket when there are changes. And so for example, the Lake Stevens School District, I think, updated theirs last August. And so then that was included as part of the 2020 comprehensive plan docket.
Do you know approximately how much that is per single family unit?
I would need to pull up. It's included within our fee resolution. I believe it's somewhere in the range of, for a detached single family residence, between $6,000 and $8,000. I can't remember what the exact fee is. I can pull that up though.
If you could, I'd appreciate that. I thought it was a little bit higher than that, in the $9,000 to $10,000 range. The other question I have for you: does the school, in relating to safety and sidewalks, through the review process of a can the school district still require areas that are not adjacent to a school? Everybody froze. Did you hear my question at all?
I heard about half of that. Sorry, I don't know if it was on my end or on your end.
Yeah, no, my whole screen, everything froze on my side. The question being, is safe walking areas to school facilities. Does the school district, through a review process, when a subdivision is being reviewed, request a safe walking distance of a particular subdivision?
Yeah, so we send a referral to the school district, and so they are involved and they provide direct feedback on things like the location of bus stops and safe routes to school.
Okay, great. Were you able to bring up that
fee question? The Lake Stevens School District charges $9,788. The Snohomish School District charges $6,039.
Okay. Councilmember Peterson, I think are you frozen again? Yeah, I think he's froze again. Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to open up this
single family.
I'm sorry, Gary, you're frozen. You have to say again.
Per single family unit, yes.
And yeah.
Okay, let's move forward. Let's go ahead and open up for public comments, and we'll open up the floor at this time for any public comments just on this subject only. If you have a public comment for the subject, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll bring you in for 3 minutes to talk about this subject. Looking for a hand raised. Not seeing any hands raised for the public hearing portion of this discussion. So with that, I'll go ahead and close the public comments portions of the hearing. David, do you have any further comments for the council?
No, if there are any additional questions, thank you, Russ, to looking up the fees resolution. So yeah, it was almost $10,000 for a single family residential, and then it's a little bit less. It's about $7,600 for a duplex or townhouse, and also for multifamily residential.
Okay. Do we have any further questions for David or staff? Seeing and hearing none, is there any discussion and deliberation by the council on this subject? Seeing and hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this, and we'll ask for council action.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the impact fee code amendments under LUA 20.
Okay. Okay, so I've got a motion to approve the impact fee code amendments under LUA 2021-0133, and I have a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? All right, that topic passes. I appreciate everyone's work on that. Appreciate your work on it as well, David. So with that, let's move to the next item, which is a surplus of public works equipment. Director Gerpos.
Good evening, council. We have actually 6 vehicles and 1 piece of equipment that we are proposing to surplus. 4 of which of the vehicles are old police vehicles that we used to use just for admin type of stuff. We have an old chipper. We bought a new chipper, and we have our old sweeper that we are recommending that the city surpluses. And so we can clean up some of our rolling stock. We typically send these out to public auction, and it requires a public hearing for us to release those so they can be auctioned off. So pretty straightforward tonight. If you have any questions, I can answer those.
Any questions for Director Post? Not seeing any questions. So with that, I'll
Mayor,
go
I would move to authorize Public Works to surplus non-functioning equipment and vehicles auction on this list.
Second.
So is this a action
It's a
or
public hearing?
It's a public
It's a
hearing.
public
Yeah.
hearing.
Then we might as well stop that one and go to public hearing.
I thought I was going to be the confused one. So let's go ahead and
I'm going to go to bed now. You guys just take care. I'll see y'all later.
I'll go ahead and open up the floor then for public comments on this topic only of surplusing of public vehicles. Is there anybody who wishes to talk about this to council? Please raise your hand if you do. I'm not seeing any hands raised. With that, I'll go ahead and close the public comments portion. Eric, do you have any further comments?
I don't.
Okay. And any further questions for Eric? I would like to, and we don't need to discuss it right now, but it is something we need to maybe look at is why we need to bring a surplus to council. Maybe we need to look at our policies and just be able to make this an easier, less time exhaustive process to be able to get rid of some of the old stuff we have laying around. Just food for thought.
Perfect. So I know some things, Mayor, you don't have to, but if things were used by an enterprise fund, like a utility, it's required by statute that it comes to a public hearing. So if it was completely purchased with general fund dollars, we could surplus it without the public hearing and everything. But since we couldn't really track down exactly what dollar amount was required or where it came from, we decided to just put them all on the list to be safe.
Okay, that sounds like a great plan of action. So with that, let's go ahead and close the public hearing, and I'll look for that action now, Council President Daughtry.
Not happening.
I move that we approve the surplus of the vehicles listed.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. The motion is to approve the listed vehicles for surplus. And any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? All right. So with that ends our formal agenda. We do have an executive session that we're going to go into. Should take, let's say 15 minutes. And this executive session is going to be about potential litigation per RCW 42.30.1101. So with that, if council members would make sure that they turn off their Zooms, mute, stop video, and then move over to the team session. All right, waiting on Councilmember Dickinson.
Move to adjourn.
All right, got a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Go out and do great things.
Adios.
Bye, you guys. Good night. Angie, we adjourned. Angie?
I feel really sad that you adjourned without me.
I don't want to ghost you, but I was like, I'll wait till you get back on and tell you we adjourned.
It's all good.
We made a couple actions, but don't worry about it. I'm just kidding.
It's fine. I'm sure they're all things I'd agree with, so it's totally fine.
Okay. Hey, Mary, we adjourned already. It happened really fast.
Quick, let's adjourn before Angie and Mary get back in the room.
You know.
All
who
right.
we
Have a
are.
good night, you guys.
You
For
too.
the record, I stayed.
Good night, you guys.